You know what I realize about people, right? About some people? And this is deep, right? Some people do anything to avoid being alone. And I know you're thinking about in a relationship, but I'm not even talking about in a relationship. I'm talking about some people will do anything, will go to extremes to avoid being by themselves at any time of the day. They always got to be talking to somebody on the phone, or they always have to have someone with them to do anything in life. Do you know people like that, or are you like that, my friend? And don't get me wrong, socialization is a beautiful thing. We all have to socialize. In fact, a new baby, if that new baby isn't touched in a matter of hours by a human being, by another person, then that baby will die. So it's innate. We have a natural desire to be around other people. However, that fingerprint, that's an individual fingerprint that nobody else in the world can match. So if God intended us to be with other people at all times, why didn't he give us group fingerprints or group DNAs? He didn't do that. It's all individualized. You know why? Because although we are supposed to be around people and interact and engage other people, there are times that we're supposed to be alone, right? Fear to be alone. When you're afraid of yourself, you limit the blessings that God can give you. You know why? Because oftentimes the blessing of the Lord that make us rich and addeth no sorrow with it. You got to be isolated oftentimes to get it, right? Because he don't give us anything that we're not ready for. That's why they say you can't get anything that you can't handle, right? So he got to prepare you before he gives it to you. And most of the time, the preparation is done during isolation, my friend. And not just that, this is what you got to understand about isolation. Isolation leads to growth. It really does. And here's how, right? See, isolation is a natural part of the growth process, right? But what's most important about that growth process is what you do while you're isolated, right? If you're cheating the lesson, then oh yeah, you're gonna cheat the blessing. But if you're embracing the lesson and learning from it, then you're gonna get all the blessings, my friend. So it all comes down to what you do while you're isolated, right? Case in point, let's look at sports, for instance. Let's take basketball, right? Basketball coaches often call timeouts, right? However, the coaches rarely call timeouts when the team is playing well. Usually the timeouts are called when things are not going well, right? But that still doesn't mean that it's a good or bad timeout. What constitutes whether or not it was a good or bad timeout? What determines whether or not it was a good or bad timeout is how the players respond after the timeout. So the results of how they respond after the timeout is going to show you everything you need to know about what they were doing during the timeout. Were they listening to the coach? Were they internalizing what the coach was saying? Were they understanding the plan and the play design that he was doing? Or were they daydreaming? Were they looking in the crowd to see their girlfriend or someone else? That's what determines whether or not it was a good or bad timeout. So what you do while you're isolated is key, right? And here's 3 reasons why isolation is the perfect time to grow, my friend. Number 1, here's the thing about isolation, the beautiful thing about isolation. Isolation, right? It puts our true character on full display. You know why? Because it removes people and things for you to blame. So it's you versus you, and there's no other circumstances or situations for you to blame, so you got to be personally accountable to the core. That's why isolation is so beneficial to growth. Because in order to grow, you got to be personally accountable in everything. That's why sometimes God has to isolate you, get you away from the people that you keep doing stuff, acting out of character so you can fit in and be accepted, because that's not your truth. That's not what's helping you grow, my friend. And sometimes God has to pull us away from that, and we think it's a punishment, but it's truly a blessing because he's trying to take us higher, right? That's why you got to be obedient. You got to listen, even though it don't feel good. Life is still happening for you, not to you, regardless what it look like or feel like. So you still got to move. You got to flow with it, right? Because it's God trying to take you higher, my friend, right? And number two, here's the thing. See, never allow times of isolation. Never allow periods of isolation. I don't care if it look like everybody doing better than you. I don't care if it look like everybody having fun. Never allow those periods of isolation to make you bitter, my friend. No, you better than that. But instead, use those times of isolation to learn, to develop, to become more disciplined and make yourself better, my friend. That's what it's all about. Remember, we all in this to win, right? We're not simply doing this to survive. We are here to thrive, my friend, in each and every aspect of life, right? And number three, you got to develop a greatness mindset. A mind bold enough to believe, right? That all, I mean all, not some, but all of the answers to life problems are in the mirror, my friend. But here's the difficult part. You got to be bold enough to accept and embrace what you see, my friend. You got to stop being afraid of you, my friend. Be open, understand. We all got problems, strengths, and weaknesses, fears, insecurities. What's new? We're human, right? But your job is to own it all, right? And not let it negatively impact nobody else. That's when you own it, right? And while you out there owning your entire life, understanding that you are the head, not the tail. Understanding that you are a work in progress. So what, you didn't make it then, you're going to make it now. You got to believe it, my friend, because it's in you. That fingerprint, you know what that means? That means you got something significant that you can do that nobody else can match, my friend. How dare you be afraid of yourself? That don't even make no sense. Never forget, my friend, you were born to be great.